This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right, it is not. It is a receiver of thought. Because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. So excited to have you with us here. Whether you are watching this in whatever platform it is, Spotify or iTunes, or you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. You never want to miss any Mile High tick. So hit subscribe so you can be there. If you're watching this live, make sure you say in the comments where you're watching from. Give it a thumbs up or heart. Let us know city, state, country, so we know that you're here with us. And of course, as I said, you never want to miss any Mile High tick. So make sure you join us live on higher ground for Mile High 13. Don't let the 13 scare you. Rise up to milehigh.com as you get all the details and be there with us. Last year, I'm pretty sure it was the first year, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Marc Surprenant, and I got to make sure I pronounce that right, was an attendee at Mile High and joined us for the first time. And so it was really great for me to get to meet him and for he to hang out on higher ground at Mile High Noon. So I'm glad to have him on the podcast today. You're going to learn more about him and what makes him tick, pun intended, and also to help you rise up into being a better chiropractor. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Marc.
Thanks, Dr. Danny. Appreciate it. So I will tell you this, is that I had been meaning to get out to Mile High for a long time. I'd heard tons about it. I knew Joel Kinch, and I knew Joe Arve. I know he always let off your first night and everything like that. And Joe had always told me about it, but it was always conflicts with other seminars that I was teaching. And so this year I had it, and I put it on the calendar, and I was so glad that I came. And then just to let you guys know, and I was telling Danny this earlier, is like, we have these silos in chiropractic that keeps us separated apart from each other. And what I loved about Mile High was that you saw a lot of those silos being broken down, and it was really about the purity of chiropractic, the chiropractic principle. And so, he's not paying me to say this, but I will tell you that seminar was very life-giving to me and a breath of fresh air, because, like I said, in chiropractic, we get it put in our silos and we don't know what's going on with the rest of the chiropractic community. It was kind of nice to see that those walls being torn down a little bit, and for a chance to be able to see what else is out there in chiropractic.
Well, thank you for saying that. My good friend Elise Rigney said a similar thing. She said, hey, Mile High brings all the tribes together. And it's true. Like I was in a network world. I'm still in a network world, but because that was like all I would go to is network spinal events. And then when I go to Sherman College Lyceum, I was like, oh, wow, I get to see some of my chiropractic friends outside of the network world, which is why, we put in such energy into Mile High. So, people can rub elbows or rub pisiforms with other chiropractors. So now you're a 99 graduate of Palmer, okay? And you practice in Charlotte, where you practice?
Yep, I'm in Charlotte, right. North Carolina. Yeah.
So you're you're close to what I call today's Fountainhead. Not everybody will call it that, because I know you're a Palmer person, but I like calling it that, and it's like it's my chiropractic home. Can you first off share a little bit about how you found your way to the chiropractic world?
Yeah, so I will piggyback off that. I will say that Sherman is the Fountainhead now too, and even though I'm a Palmer grad, and I've spent the last 4 or 5 years down at Sherman going to Lyceum, and I took ACP last year, and taking the DACP right now. So it's been a blast to get to know some of the teachers and professors down there, and just the philosophy of Sherman, and I would consider it the fountainhead of chiropractic now. Palmer's no longer, that's been gone for a long time. And so I would 100% agree with you on the fountainhead being at Sherman. So get to Lyceum as well. So funny story is I had really bad asthma and allergies growing up, kind of like, you hear of those chiropractors that have these amazing stories before they went to chiropractic school. Mine didn't happen until I went to chiropractic school. And but I had really bad asthma and allergies when I was growing up. And at 7 years old, the whole thing, they put me on drugs, sent me home with inhalers, and it helped with my breathing, but they didn't tell my mom about the side effects. So the side effects of it was asthma and allergy or headaches. So at 12 years old, mom takes me back to the doctor. Oh, Tylenol and aspirin. Next thing you know, stomach ulcers. 17 years old, they put me on stomach ulcer medication. So I'm on 4 different medications. By the time my third year of pre-med at University of Iowa, I wanted to be a doctor. Wow. I wanted to help people. I'm a Hawkeye. And so I'm third year pre-med, and my academic advisor goes AWOL. He moves to Egypt. And so they just basically said, hey, this guy's here, needs some counseling. And this lady just raises her hand. She goes, I've got some free time. And she goes, so I go over to her, I sit down, and I tell her the story, and she goes, you should go think about going to see my chiropractor, number one, but number two, you should think about chiropractic school. And I thought chiropractors were quacks because if you're third year pre-med, all you've been taught your whole life is that these chiropractors are weirdos and quacks, and we probably still are, but that's okay. And so she goes, I actually went to Palmer at the time in 95 is when I went there. It was not beautiful. It was run down, and I still chose to go there. And my very first or second week, I got my first adjustment at school from an intern from Canada, and my life was changed within the first couple weeks of getting adjusted. I started noticing asthma and allergies starting to reduce, headaches starting to reduce. And so it was just crazy. Within about the first 3 months, I came off all 4 of my medications. Wow. And just my life was completely turned upside down in that short little bit. And I went to chiropractic school because my chiropractor back home had a big house. And so I thought this would be a good profession. But in the meantime, I found something bigger for my life purpose, obviously.
Wow. I did not know that about you. In fact, we never met before you attending Mile High, and other than I heard some audios of you presenting different things over the years. So I was really excited to get to meet you in person, excited to be here with you now. So you find your way to Palmer, you graduate, and when you graduate, was it like all of a sudden out the door of school, like overnight business success, or was it something different?
Of course, is right away. No success at all. So I played rugby and baseball at Palmer. So I was occupied mentally, and I took maybe a couple seminars. That's it. But I had no clue. I didn't visit offices. I didn't learn marketing. I didn't learn business. I knew nothing of this thing. I have nobody in my family that's ever run a business in their life. They're all government workers. And when I got out, I moved to Kansas City. I stayed on a friend's couch. I worked as an independent contractor in Kansas City. And because I was I didn't know how to get new patients. I didn't know how to take care of new patients. And I didn't know how to be able to even adjust people, really. So I started bartending 3 nights a week for the first 3 years of being out in practice. And one day I met a girl, Eliza Kim. She was with Waiting List Practice at the time. And Dave Major was coming out to do a screening. And she goes, this is what Eliza said to me. She goes, Mark, you are too charismatic and too good to suck this bad at chiropractic. And that was I think that was a compliment. She goes, but you need some guidance and you need some coaching. And that's the same thing that Dave Major said to me. He says, you need some guidance, you need some coaching. And I started getting some guidance and coaching about, number one, how to do marketing, but number two, how to be able to take a patient through care as well. And so, and that really kind of spurred that energy inside of me. And I started doing a Green Book study with some local doctors there. And I just really I knew that it was in me, but I just didn't know how to get it. Got it.
Well, good. So then you start moving forward. You're how many years in practice are you now?
So 25 years into practice, 21 years in Charlotte now. So yeah.
Okay. So then, what was like one of the first things, because there's a lot of students that listen to this. There's a lot of new grads that, and I was just speaking to someone yesterday that, wanted to take her practice, move it forward. And she basic foundational stuff was not in her life in terms of running a practice. What were some of the first knobs that you turned that helped you move forward?
Yeah, I would say for the new grads or for the students, and I say this for any profession, but especially our profession, go visit offices and hang out and watch those doctors cook. Because I think what happens is you're going to one office, you'll be like, I don't want to practice at all like that. And you go to another one, you're like, oh, this feels like my home. This feels like what my spirit wants. And you'll start to figure out a little bit more about what you want, how you want to practice. And then you start asking the questions. You might need to get guidance, obviously, along the way. I'm a big fan. I've done coaching and consulting for years. And me personally, I've used coaching and consulting. I've also been a coach and a consultant, still am. And so I think those things are so crucial to have mentors that align with your values and what you want to do. And getting around those people, whether it's seminars, coming to things like Mile High and Lyceum, that's how you really start to, and talking to these doctors, because you can't just go into a practice in theory. You have to see it and you have to understand how the inner workings and the processes actually work.
Right. Okay, cool. And then what was the next step? I know at some point, I don't know what you do now. We go through ebbs and flows in practice. At some point, you were seeing over 1,000 per week. What were the things that really start you, exploding?
Yeah, for me, so when I sat in this office, it looked a lot different than this. We tore down some walls and opened this thing up so we have some lighting in here. But I've been in this office. We saw over 1,100 a week in this small little office of 1,450 square feet. And I think for me was that when it came to the point of where I knew what to do, it was time to do it. And so there was two pieces to it. It was number one, making sure that I wake up every morning with the right passion and wanting to help people. That heart for chiropractic and that heart for people was a big piece of seeing a lot of people. The second part of it is to start doing the things that I knew I needed to do to be able to serve and help these people. And what I mean by that is for the first 2 years in this office, I remember sitting up here at the front desk and looking up things on the computer about, oh, I should go do that thing, or I should go do this thing. And it was more about like trying to create the thing in my mind, when it really came down to I actually had to get outside these four walls and go start preaching chiropractic to this community is what it was.
Got it. And, you've mentored a lot of doctors in different platforms, okay, in different groups, and probably on your own too. What were things that you see that doctors struggle with the most?
Oh, gosh. So there's a few things. I think number one is certainty of what we do. And that's a big thing. And certainty for some people comes in their technique. Certainty comes in their philosophy. Certainty comes in their business model. But that's the biggest thing, is just having a certainty, whether it's right or wrong. And I don't think there is any right or wrong with processes or techniques or anything like that, but it's a certainty and belief that what you're delivering is what the people need. And I think certainty is the number one thing. Then number two is the organization of that, the processes. And because if the processes aren't in place, things completely fall apart. And I'll give you a little example of that. I'm going to be pretty raw with you right now. This office here, I let two people go at the beginning of February. And one lady had been with me for 14 years. Wow. And just last year was a lot of life changes, a lot of crazy things. I've got 4 daughters. They're 21, 20, 16, and 14. So just a lot of busyness in life, and got distracted a little bit for a couple years in coaching and consulting and doing other things. And I woke up and it just like the numbers were dwindling, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? So I let the girl go that was like a sister to me. And what I started realizing, we got back behind the scenes here, and our processes, even though we train on a regular basis, our processes were completely off. I have patients that have been coming here for years that haven't been paying anything, people that weren't in fair exchange. Some of you guys, you might need to go to your office and check these things. But I should have been checking in better, And so it's actually matured me and taught me so much more. And like this last 3-4 weeks here, because we did clean up the first 2-3 months of this year, the miracles are starting to come again, because we are just at peace with how people flow through this office. But like we have you're going to love this. I have a lady that brought her daughter who had cancer at 6 months old and had laminectomies all up and down her spine, and they took a tumor out. And she's just like, I wanted to come here because we know that we just need more for her because the doctors only want to do cancer treatments. She goes, I want somebody that's going to support the function of the body. And I said, how'd you hear about it? She goes, actually, I was in a chiropractor. She was in another chiropractor's office, and some lady was whispering to her in the front in the waiting room that actually you should go to family. She was telling her to come here while they're both in another chiropractor's office. That stuff doesn't happen unless you have the passion, the certainty, the process in place. And I think this whole year this beginning part of this year, we've cleaned that stuff up so much that it's this magnet now of people wanting to come here. And for different reasons, not neck pain and back pain. You name all the stuff. They're all coming here for all kinds of stuff right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you're in a right track when you have people coming in for all kinds of things.
Yep.
And all kinds of reasons. When you see that happen, then it's not just musculoskeletal things. You're putting out the right message when you start seeing that kind of thing. I laugh when you said that. A few years back, we had some changing in team, and then we noticed our finances were not on track. And as people say, practice in the best practices. Practices ebb and flow and things happen. There are things where there's just everything off that's going to happen in any business, right? Even the best run businesses and even the best run chiropractic offices. And we had one time we're okay, those things are not right. And we went and did an audit of everybody's accounts. And it was just like you said, we're how did this happen? That the people it wasn't across the board, but there were people paying $10 for it. Where did that happen? And then you right the ship, right? Yeah. So those that's reality. And it can be humorous now looking back on it. It wasn't humorous at the time, right?
It was painful. It was painful at the time, right?
It was painful. It's wow, how do they pay less than it wasn't we had a really solid great practice, but then there was these 20 people or something like that. How are they paying us less than we did as a chiropractic intern at Sherman, and stuff like that. So then those are some of these doctors who struggle when you work with doctors and the ones that they just flew, they were the most successful. They followed up on what things they were being told. What were some of the characteristics in the most successful docs and practices?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that with the chiropractors that take off succeed, it's number one, you have to have a plan. We call it a war plan. What's your plan for the week? Where are you putting your time in, and what are you doing? That's number one. Number two, education and training for your team. My team my practice will go as my team goes. And if I'm not putting the time and energy to training my team about this is the process and this is what happens. And then the third thing, probably the biggest thing is really for any of my clients that I have is about just getting crystal clear focused on why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing this? What's the real reason? And I'm not afraid. I'm hey, are you doing this for money? There's a piece of that you're doing it for some kind of finances, but there's also a piece of it well, here's how I got into it, and this is why. You have to know that why, because it gets tedious if it's always about just working just to work. And so you got to remember why. My story, I come back to that story. I tell that story probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times a week about how I got into chiropractic, because that's my anchor to why do I do this? This mom that came in yesterday, the one that whispered to the other lady at the chiropractor's office, she came in yesterday. She goes, I was at the other chiropractor's office because I knew that if I came to you, I was going to have to actually put the work in. She goes, I was just trying to get a quick fix with some heat and some ice and stuff, right? And so she goes, I knew I was going to have to put the work in. And so she comes in, and this lady in 2 days adjustments, to see her not be able to pick up her 6-month-old baby, to be able to pick up her 6-month-old baby. She goes, I laid in bed without pain last night for the first time in months. And to see the pain in her eyes go away and just see relief, because she's been bawling in my office for the last 3 weeks and in this pain and just hadn't done anything about it. And so I really anchor to, and this is what I anchor my clients to too, you got to anchor to the stories and the testimonies, because it's not just about the mechanics of, I'm going to give you an adjustment, I'm going to get paid. It's got to be about why are we doing this and who are we doing this for sure.
Right. There's that saying, purpose. It's got to be, God, family, chiropractic, and you got to have purpose in that. If it's just, numbers and stats, and those are important to run a business, but if you don't have the purpose in it, it will have a place of just not having the right energy, and you'll end up not being as happy. The purpose has to be fueled into everything. Now, I'm assuming that if you are a purpose-filled chiropractor, that you probably do some kind of classes. Are classes important to practice success?
Oh man, I'm a big fan of the lay lecture still. Like every Tuesday night and every Friday morning, we do what's called our doctor's report. And we actually recommend highly that the spouses come to that, because I want the families to get this. And so we started a family of 6 last week, a family of 7's coming this week.
Wow.
How does that happen? It happens only because you educate, right? And so last night, this is another good example. This lady came in, she found us through Google. Imagine that. And so she finds us, comes in, and her dad lives an hour away. And I said, bring your dad. Your dad would probably want to see, I've got 4 daughters. I would probably want to see my daughter's x-rays. Bring them. So they come in, and they're sitting through my report, which is about 53 minutes long. And they're you could just see them, you could see the gears starting to work. And her dad, before he paid for hers, he says, listen, he goes, I need my spine checked. He goes, I need my spine checked. He goes, I realized that, here's my daughter here. And as we looked at her x-ray, she's here for back pain, like extreme back pain. She couldn't get out of bed. What is today? Wednesday. She couldn't get out of bed on Monday. And that's why she's here. But then as I started going through and educating, and my education is really about function more than it's about health. I don't cringe when chiropractors talk about health, but I really think it's more about function than it is anything else, because function's so much bigger than health. And I started talking about this stuff, and when he gets back and looks at her x-rays, he's like, okay, he goes, do you think this has anything to do with why she has depression and anxiety and ADD and has all these problems with her blood sugar levels? I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, he goes, if her nerve system's this bad and it's causing back pain, of course it's causing other things. And so one of my favorite lines I use in my class is, I'm like, listen, I don't want to adjust you just so you can die with less pain. If you want to do that, go to somewhere else. I won't say the name of the company that I say to go to. Go to another chiropractor that will just take care of your pain. But what we do here is, I want to adjust you so you can function at the highest level, so you can do everything that God created you to do, so your body's hormones can be balanced, so your body can function at the highest level, and so you can be the purest form of who God designed you to be. That's ultimately what we're looking for our patients here.
Right. And the more that message is shared, the more successful we practice. And so often it's painful. Like, people don't share anything about care. And unlike you, I do a results review that's in a group setting, and I'm never going to stop doing that, because they got to know why they're there. And if they don't know why they're there, I don't really want to take care of them. I mean, I want to take care of everybody, but I want them to be on board for their, life changing and for their health. So, you at this point in career, if you look back, you have a lot of wisdom, right? I'm not saying you're old, but you have wisdom. Okay.
I got grades in here.
So you've got more wisdom. Looking back, what would you tell chiropractors from the vantage point that you have now?
Yeah, I think going back to when I started, if I could go back and tell myself, that's a good question. Number one is when I'm going through school, I would go visit more offices and find out how I wanted to practice. Number one. Number two, how to deliver the message of chiropractic. I would have definitely tried to go help chiropractors while I was a student to market their businesses. I'd go do screenings for them. Like, I think there's nothing, I know, and that's a dirty word in chiropractic is screenings, but I think it's the best way for us to get repetitions on how to communicate chiropractic to somebody. And so when I train doctors here, I would always say, let's go do screenings. And my whole first year that I was in this office, we had no money left, and I had time. That's all I had. And the Sam's Club down the road here, like 2 miles, and the Sam's Club on the other side, about 10 miles that way, they allowed me to go plug my MyoVision, my substation, into their TVs, their bank of TVs.
No.
Yeah, they let me because all I did is I took donations for Children's Miracle Network to get appointments in my office. And I did that probably 3, 4, 5 days a week for the first year that I was there because I was just like, and people say, well, how did you get so good at communicating chiropractic? That is the best repetitions you can get is get out and do the marketing, go do lay lectures, go do screenings, because as a student, I think that gets you better to be able to communicate the principle of chiropractic, but also to get instant feedback from patients. Right? Like you can go to a talk and you don't have instant feedback, but with a screening, if you're communicating with somebody, if they got it, they're signing up to come in. If they didn't get it, they're not coming in. So you get instant feedback.
And also what things you said made a bad expression. They didn't receive it. They did receive it. You start seeing that in real time. It's funny. Screening people have a phobia around them. I teach people that everything's a screening. It's all a screening, because a screening in my mind is you're introducing a person to the fact that they have a spine. And that because people don't know they have a spine, right? And that somehow there's a relation between their spine and their health. People have no clue about that. It's like I don't have to go further in teaching anything initially. Just like you have a spine, it's connected to your health, and that's a screening in my mind. Whether it's a talk, whether it's a community event, whether it's you're signed up and you got an EMG unit at Sam's, whatever it is, that's all a screening. You just have to tell people like there's a spine, look at it, this is the quality of it, and it could be better, and your health will be better. Because people don't even know that. Like it's foreign to us that is unbelievable that people don't know that.
Yeah, 100%. And getting the bridge from the fact of like they're there were aches and pains, or what they think chiropractic does is aches and pains, headaches, neck pain, back pain, blah 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 blah. That's where they think it is. So meeting them where they're at, but showing them what they can have. Like you and I talked about how there's no new concepts in chiropractic, and there really isn't. I heard somebody say that. It's like, you got to meet them where they're at, but you got to show them what they could have if they fully understood chiropractic. And that's what I feel like my lay lectures do. But my radio program that I do, I've done radio here in Charlotte for 21 years now. Wow. And I love it because the people that come in from it, I'm like, first question I ask when they walk through this front door, I'm like, hey, I know you heard me on the radio. What was it that I said that clicked with you that made you want to come? And they're like, I'm tired of covering up my symptoms. I want to get to the root cause of what's going wrong with my body right now. And I'm just like, there you go, right? And so that doesn't always happen, but I mean, radio's taken a while for me, but I love doing the lay lectures. I love going out and doing lunch and learns. I love going out and speaking at churches here. I mean, these are the big ones I have is that, and after doing this for 21 years, we kind of drive around this town and my kids are like, hey Dad, did you do a talk at this place? And I'm like, yeah, right over there. So we go through town and it's just like always like, there's nowhere I haven't been and there's nowhere I wouldn't go either. I'd go anywhere.
Right.
To share this message. That's the other thing I probably, and Danny, and add to that. Find love for chiropractic, because if you're going to do this and you're going to do this with passion, you've got to find the love for chiropractic. It is an amazing, amazing principle and philosophy. It's an amazing profession, but you've got to fall in love with it and you've got to keep in love with it and nurture that relationship, because if you fall out of love with it, that's when you start doing stupid stuff in your offices, because you're just like, you fall out of love with chiropractic and you're looking for distractions to keep your office open because you fell out of love with the principle of chiropractic.
Yeah. And I love what you said about I will go anywhere, because you realize that there's no shortage of spines distorted. There's people that could be healthier everywhere you look. And, to be open to that, hey, there's nowhere I wouldn't go to let people know your life could be better. And there's a path for that, and it's not a pill, potion, lotion, or something like that, and it's not under the knife. That like there can be a possibility that almost undoubtedly your life can be better, but also things that is how you feel and function. High possibility that those will do better. You just have to get under a chiropractor's hands, without a doubt.
So true.
Yeah. So I, knowing that you've gone to Lyceum the last several years, I'm so thrilled because it's coming up in a little bit. So I look forward that I'll see you at Lyceum. What have you enjoyed about being at Sherman Lyceum?
So, what's cool is that I think I come from the Palmer tree of philosophy, and you think, okay, well, that's not that much different. And then I took ACP and DACP now down there. So Academy of Chiropractic Philosophers is what that is for those of your viewers that don't know what that is, and the other one's a diplomate. And so just being around the teachers down there and the concepts of purity of chiropractic down there, like growing up in the Palmer tree, I was more of like the barge type of thinking and everything like that. And then now it's like more, in the last 10 years, it's been like Reggie for me. Like Reggie is my number one mentor that I've used. I just love Reggie's stuff. I love Strauss's stuff because Strauss does a lot of the same Reggie stuff. It just makes so much sense to me. And that's what I love about Lyceum is that you get back to the core principle. You need that. You go out into practice and you're off on your own, you're doing your stuff and always coming back at least once a year. For me right now, I think it's 4 or 5 times a year I have to go back for classes right now. But it's good to get that refocused on like, oh no, this is the pathway. This is what straight is for me. This is where I'm, no, pun intended, I guess. This is what straight is for me. And the people there are just, I mean, it's such a great group of people, loving people, that really have a heart and care for chiropractic. And that's what I love about going back down to Sherman all the time is that piece. These people love chiropractic.
Well, I look forward to seeing you there. I'm now more excited because we'll get to hang out, and Joel Kinch is going to be presenting, which is huge.
Nice.
And I'm psyched to be sharing there too. And so, and I'm hoping we get to see you at Mile High again this year. I gotta tell you, when you're there, keep an eye out for my son because he goes to school there. So I'd love to make sure that he meets
that's awesome.
you. Yeah, I want to make sure he connects with you, so we'll do that.
If he ever wants to come up and visit too, I'm 90 minutes away, like door to door, 90 minutes.
Well, we should tell him that because I'm a big proponent of going to offices and visiting. So I will tell him that when we're there. And so, as I said, I hope to see you at Mile High, and thank you for being such a light and helping so many chiropractors. I get really, very excited when I see a doctor that's, helping people get a better start in chiropractic. So I want to thank you and acknowledge you for doing that because you've done that for so many people over the years. So thank you very much. And, let's just, end on this note of telling people to keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic, and make sure to join us at 5,280 feet in September for Mile High 13. Don't let the 13 scare you. Just wait. We're going to be announcing the theme pretty soon. It's going to be pretty exciting. So thanks again.
I will be there 100%. I'll be at Mile High, and I'll see you at Lyceum, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you for everything you do.
Awesome. Thank you.